ओम गणानां त्वा गणपतिगं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पतानः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनं श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुस्साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। Om. Dear friends, we are about to conclude this 7th shloka, that is Yastvindriyani manasani yamya arabhate arjuna karmendriyai karmayogam asaktah savishishyate. I think we have read the bhashyam also of that. So here we are seeing a sort of paradoxical situation where say one who restrains these Bhahyendriyas is the Karmendriyas, this is organs of action, the motor organs, let us say. One who restrains them, but then he is unable to control his mind. Unfortunately, he is not able to control his mind. So such a man, he falls from his goal. He does not achieve Purushartha. But on the other hand, one who restrains his mind and then he accepts the sensual pleasures according to what dharma permits, as far as dharma permits. So such a man, his mind is purified and he reaches the goal. So one man who physically abstains but then mentally he indulges in them, he falls from that goal. But the other man who controls his mind and still enjoys those pleasures, so but still he reaches the goal. So this is a sort of paradoxical situation. So this is where we are. So why is so? Because this man, that gentleman, the person who is say physically restraining, his mind is still active. His mind is still in a very unrestrained manner it is going. Whereas the other man, he is doing a prescribed karma according to whatever is dharmyam karma. Dharmyam karma means whatever has been sanctioned by the dharma, whatever has been sanctioned by a social order. So that he is following. So that is leading to chitta shuddhi. Whereas the other man, the previous man, his mind is not Shuddha, his mind is not pure, his mind is indulging in all things, his body may be pure, but his mind is not pure. So that is not a proper condition, appropriate condition for Jnana-nishtha. That is not an appropriate preparatory stage for Jnana-nishtha. So that is where we concluded. Then last line also I think we read. Karma yogam asaktah san sa vishishyate itarasmat mithyacharat. Sa vishishyate means he excels. Why does he excel? Because this man, whatever karma he is doing, it is leading to purification of mind. Whereas the other man, it is not leading to any purification of mind. So that is it. Itarasmat mithyacharat. Yata eva mataha. This line, this shloka have we not completed? Niyatam kuru, we have to read now. Okay. Yata eva mataha. Let us read this shloka. Niyatam kuru karmatvam. कर्मज्यायो ह्यकर्मणः शरीरयात्रापि च ते न प्रसिद्ध्येद कर्मणः. So niyatam kuru karmatvam. So he is telling Krishna is telling Arjuna, tvam, you niyatam karma kuru. So whatever has been prescribed to you, whatever has been prescribed to you as a compulsory duty, niyatam. Niyata karma is something which is compulsorily to be done, something which is prescribed. Niyati actually means nature, which according to your nature, which according to your gunas, whatever is prescribed to you, that is the niyatam karma. Niyati kruta niyamarahitam, there is a line in poetry. Niyati means nature also. Niyatam, that is according to your guna. This is there, which is prescribed. So that sort of karma, you kuru. Kuru means you do. Karma jyaya hi akarmanaha. Karma jyaya hi akarmanaha. Hyakarmanaha is he plus akarmanaha. Karma is superior. Jyaya means superior. From superior to what? Akarmanaha. Akarmanaha means in comparison with this, abstaining from action. Akarma is abstaining from action. From that thing, this doing karma is superior. And one more reason he says, more practical reason is Sharira Yatrapi. Sharira Yatra. Yatra is what is yatra? Yatra means a pilgrimage. Moving from one place to another is yatra, yanam. So Sharira Yatra is the day-to-day conduct of the body. Say this, say day-to-day life, or rather livelihood, let us say. Livelihood, Sharira Yatra Pichate, na prasidhyed akarmanaha. By following that path of abstaining from karma, by simply abstaining from karma, you will also be losing your livelihood. After all, a person is not supposed to leave his livelihood. He is supposed to do, say, have his livelihood properly and then work in accordance with dharma, and then only after when he reaches some sort of some sort of maturity of mind, when his mind becomes purified by this karma, then he can go to Jnananishta. So this is the shloka. This shloka words are also simple. Niyatam kuru karma tvam karma jyayaha hi akarmanaha sharira yatra api. Sharira yatra api means even sharira yatra, even livelihood will be difficult for you. Even livelihood you will not be able to achieve. Na prasidhyet means it will not result. It will not, say you will not be able to achieve it. Na prasidhyet akarmanaha. By abstaining from action, you will be losing your livelihood also. Na prasidhyet akarmanaha. So let us read Shankaracharya's Bhashyam. Niyatam nityam यो यस्मिन् कर्मणि अधिकृतः फलाय च अश्रुतं तन्नियतं कर्म तत्कुरु त्वं हे अर्जुन. Okay, here there is a small condition also. What is that condition? Number one is adhikrutam karma. Adhikrutam means one who is eligible to do a thing. Adhikrutam. So and so, a Kshatriya is adhikruta for a particular karma. A Kshatriya, he is entitled. Not only entitled, it is enjoined on him. It is his duty that he has to do this. A Brahmana, he has to do bhikshacharyam. That is, he has to live a life very, very simple. A Brahmana means that person who is in that jnana path, who wants to be in the jnana path, he has to live the life of a mendicant. He has to go beg for food. So he should not hoard things, he should not behave like another businessman. So that is the duty of a Brahmana. So for a Kshatriya, the Niyatam karma is to protect people, give proper leadership, rule the people properly. So that is his karma. So yaha yasmin karmani adhikrutaha, that is one karma, that is one condition. So it should be his assigned duty, let us say. Then the second condition is, it should not be phalayacha ashrutam. That is, no phalam or no result is mentioned. It should not be a kamya karma. So there are some karmas where phalam is mentioned. Phalam is result. Phalam is the result. So you do this thing and you will go to Swarga. Swarga kamo yajeta. So and so jyotishthomena so and so yajeta. Then some other thing, some other ishti for some other need, some other ishti for some other desire. So all these things, they are kamya karmas. Kamya is where you have say a phalam or a result in sight. You have you want to achieve something and then you do this karma. But here in this shloka, niyatam karma is, it is a compulsory duty for him, number one. Number two, it should not be a kamya karma. Phalayacha ashrutam. These two conditions, they are there in this thing. Then, what is the test for this niyata karma? If you do not do, it will give a negative result. What is the test of a niyata karma, a compulsory karma? There is a duty which you are supposed to do. If you do not do, your boss can give you a memo. Your boss can reduce your salary or effect some cut in your salary. That is a negative result coming out of this failure to do niyata karma. Failure to do your duty entails in some sort of punishment. So that is another thing which is there. Niyata karma, the definition of niyata karma is, number one, it should be something which is compulsory. Number two, akarane pratyavayaha. If you do not do it, the failure is, absconding from duty, it will entail in some punishment. So that is it. Akarane pratyavayaha. These three conditions are there. So let us see. Yasmin karmani adhikutaha phalayacha ashrutam. So that means the phalam is not mentioned there. That is, it is not a kamya karma. Tat niyatam karma. So that sort of karma is a compulsory karma. Tat kuru tvam, hey Arjuna, oh Arjuna, you please do that. You please perform such yajna, such sort of karma. Yataha, because yataha karma jyayaha adhikataram phalataha hi yasmat tad akarmanaha akaranat anarambhat. So akaranat anarambhat means in comparison to this abstaining from duty, in comparison with the state of abstaining from duty, this karma, niyatam karma, jyayaha, that is superior, adhikataram. Shankaracharya is mentioning adhikataram, it is superior, it is greater. Why? Phalataha. Phalataha means by virtue of its result. And what is the result? That is the purification of mind. Purification of mind is the result of this sort of niyata karma. The performance of niyata karma is going to give this purification of mind. So that is not achieved by simply abandoning work. By abandoning work, that is not achieved. By say escaping from your normal duty. Is the sound all right? Sound, is it all right? Okay. By avoiding your duty, you will get some punishment. So here, by doing duty, you will become more experienced, you will become more mature in your office work also. So let us compare it here. So by doing this niyata karma, your mind will be purified. So like you become a more experienced man while doing office duty, here you become a more, the mind becomes pure. But by just leaving aside karma, even that is not achieved. So phalataha also, it is superior. Then next line, katham sharira yatra sharira sthitirapi apicha te tava na prasiddhyet prasiddhim na gachet akarmanaha akaranat. So by not doing, the same thing he is explaining, akarmanaha means by not doing a karma, akaranat, sharira yatra, sharira sthitirapi, even maintenance of your body, sharira sthiti, the maintenance of your body, even that it will not be prasiddhyet, it will not be achieved, it cannot be achieved, prasiddhim nagachet, it will not, you will not be able to achieve that also. So that is it. Ataha drushtaha karma karmanor visheshaha loke. Okay. So that is how this the differentiation between karma and akarma is seen even in the loka, even in our normal experience, even in our normal day-to-day experience, we see this sort of difference between karma and akarma. Ato dushtaha karma akarmanoho visheshaha loke. This sort of say distinction between karma and akarma is seen even in the normal experience, even in normal worldly say transactions. So that is it. Next line, yacha manyase bandharthatvat karma na kartavyamiti tadapi asat. Okay. So then he is anticipating another say doubt of Arjuna. Yatcha manyase, if you contend or if you imagine or if you feel that, yatcha manyase, that is if you feel that, bandharthatvat karma na kartavyam, karma na kartavyam, karma should not be done or performed. Why? Bandharthatvat, because it is going to result in bondage. So he was telling about purification of mind and all those things, but one more argument is left out, that is karma is binding in nature. So when karma is binding in nature, why should I do karma? So that is what is the anticipated doubt. Yacha manyase bandharthatvat karma na kartavyamiti tadapi asat. Even that is wrong. Asat means that is wrong. Your conclusion is incorrect. That is also incorrect. Katham, why? Let us read this shloka. Yajñarthat karmanonyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangas samachara. So here he is Lord Krishna, he is introducing him. He is giving another point of view. This is yajñarthat karmanaha anyatra lokaha ayam karma bandhanaha. Ayam lokaha. means this human being. Lokaha, it does not mean world. Lokaha, whenever we say loka, we mean the world. But here loka means a particular person, whoever is say entitled, or whoever is supposed to do a thing, on whom duty is enjoined. So that person, he is referred to here. I am lokaha, this particular person. He is tied up, he attracts this karma bandha in certain situations. He does not attract this tying a bandha, karma bandha in some other situations. What is that situation? So we have seen a situation where if you perform karma, there is a karma bandhana. If you don't perform duty also, there is a karma bandhana. How? If you don't perform duty, that means you are still having that feeling of I. If you are still having that feeling of I, and that is, I gave the example of office work. If you don't do office work, you will get some punishment. So that again is bondage. It is a type of bondage. So likewise, if you don't perform karma also, that feeling of I is still there. And then akarane pratyavaya, that negative result is there. That negative result will lead you to some other say bad effect. It may lead you to some bad loka or something like that. So that again is binding. So if you do karma, it is binding. If you don't do karma, it is binding. Then how is it? What is the upaya, or what is the strategy to get out of this bondage? So that is what is being mentioned here. We have seen it earlier also. We have seen about nishkama karma in second adhyaya. Here again it is the same subject. We are in the same context of nishkama karma. We are in the context of the strategy to be followed while doing karma. While doing karma, you have to do it in such a way that you don't attract the result. And what is the strategy for that? So we are in that context. So in that context only, this point of yajna is mentioned. So when you say yajna, we should not think of the present day meaning of yajna. The present day meaning of yajna is totally different from what it was when Lord Krishna said, or when Shankaracharya wrote commentary on this. Yajna gave a totally different meaning. Yajna means anything you do for the welfare of society. Wherever your ego is merged in the sense your ego is withdrawn, not exactly merged. Your ego is withdrawn and you are working for loka sangraha. You are working as a part of a, say, let us say it is a team spirit, let us say in modern terms, if we want to use the term, say modern expression, a sort of team spirit. So that sort of work is a yajna. So in fact, there are a couple of slokas here in this third chapter. But in the fourth chapter, there are very many shlokas which deal with this concept of yajna. So this concept of this yajna, the normal meaning we know is what? So yajna, there is a small construction of some sort of altar by putting some bricks in different shapes. If you are doing Chandi Yaga, the thing is it is in the shape of a triangle. If you are doing some Shayana Yaga, the bricks they are assembled in the shape of a falcon. Falcon is a hawk or a falcon. So that is the Shayana means a falcon. So in that shape that these things are arranged. So different type of arrangement, and then different type of havis are mentioned for different yajnas. So all these things, and then lot many pandits, all many scholars, Vedic scholars are required. So that is the present day meaning of yajna. So the olden day meaning of yajna is, olden day also this was there. It is not as though it is a discovery of modern times. But then the meaning, the yajna involves some utterance of this, say the Vedic mantras. So they knew the meaning of the mantras, and then they knew what it was. They knew the meaning of the mantras. They were doing it as, say, an individual's duty towards the the entire say cosmos, let us say, not only society around you, but to the cosmos as it is, as a cosmos as a whole. Because he is going to give a meaning for yajna. What is this yajna? Shankaracharya is going to give that meaning. It is not his new meaning which is there. It is there in the Taittiriya Shruti only. Yajno vai Vishnu, he is going to say. And Vishnu, when we say Vishnu, we should not think that it is Lord Vishnu who is sitting in that, reclining on that snake in that milk ocean, and then Lakshmi is slowly doing this massage for his legs and whatnot. So that is a very, very let us say, male chauvinist type of interpretation of Lord Vishnu and Lakshmi. Highly male chauvinist interpretation. Somebody, some scholar must have given such a picture where this Lakshmi is pressing his feet and whatnot. So we should not think of that Vishnu. That Vishnu belongs to Puranas. So I have been telling that Puranas we have to take with a pinch of salt. Not only with a pinch of salt, with a lot of suspicion, rather with a lot of salt, let us say. So Puranas, it is very, very difficult to reconcile so many things which are there in the Puranas. So some Puranas at best can be taken in a very, very symbolic manner. Then Yajño Vishnuhu means we should not take the Rudhyartha, that is the literal meaning or the colloquial meaning as it is established today, but we have to take the Yaugikartha, the etymological meaning. Etymological meaning is Vyapnoti iti Vishnuhu, Vyapanashilaha, that which is all pervading, the entire cosmic force which is all pervading. What is all pervading? As students of Vedanta, as students of Gita, we know by now that it is the Brahma consciousness, Brahma Chaitanyam, that is all pervading. So that is what is Vishnu. So, and then Shankaracharya is also going to say, Ishvaraha, Yajño vai Vishnuhu iti srutehe, Yajñaha Ishvaraha, he is also going to say. Yajña means Vishnu, he is on one hand he is saying Vishnu, and again immediately he is saying Ishvara also. So when he says Vishnu, the followers of Vishnu or Vaishnavas should not feel, yes, this is something to do with Vaishnavism. Then again, when he says Ishvara, the followers of Shiva should not say, oh, this is about Shiva. This is neither about Vishnu nor about Shiva. Ishvara. Ishvara is what? Isha. We are seeing in Ishavasya Upanishad, Isha, Ishte, one who rules supreme. So, one who is Vyapanashila, he is also an Isha. One who is an Isha, he is also a Vyapanashila, isn't it? One who is all pervading, he is also ruling everything. One who rules, he is also pervading everything. You understand? So that is why in our Sandhya Vandan also we say, what is that? Shivaya Vishnu Rupaya Shiva Rupaya Vishnave Shivasya Hrudayam Vishnuhu Vishnovasya Hrudayam Shivaha. What is that? Shivasya Hrudayam Vishnuhu means the essence of Shiva is Vishnu. That is the essence of rulership, means all pervasive, all pervading, all say encompassing. Then Vishnovasya Hrudayam Shivaha. That is the essence of this all pervading thing is that rulership. So both are there, both are coexistent. Shivaya, Vishnu Rupaya, Shiva is the same as Vishnu Rupa, Vishnu is the same as Shiva. So in fact all these things I have been saying that our rishis, they had an approach to harmonize, they had an approach to synthesize, they had an approach to integrate the society. Our approach is not to divide the society like the Britishers did when they ruled India, but our approach, the approach of our rishis is basically to integrate the society. Shivaya, Vishnu Rupaya. In fact, there is one a funny episode. There is one satirist in Telugu, Chilakamarti Lakshmi Narasimham. I don't know whether you have heard his name. Chilakamarti Lakshmi Narasimham. He is a satirist. You know what is a satire? Social satire. Some humorous say anecdote, let us say. So he has explained this shloka, Shivaya Vishnu Rupaya. It seems one student goes to one teacher who does not know Sanskrit and then he wants the meaning of this shloka, Shivaya Vishnu Rupaya. So that teacher, it seems, he explained like this. Shiva, he borrowed 1 rupee from Vishnu because Shiva is a poor man. Shivaya Vishnu Rupaya. Vishnu gave 1 rupee to Shiva. Shiva Rupaya Vishnave. Then after some time Vishnu asked back that rupee. Then because Shiva could not repay, Shivasya Hrudayam Vishnuhu. So Vishnu caught hold of the collar of Shiva. And in turn he also got angry and Vishnuvasya Hrudayam Shiva. So Shiva also cut hold of the say color of Vishnu. So this is how it seems one person who did not know any idea of Sanskrit, he explained. But anyway, that is one of the short anecdotes in that Chilakamarti Lakshmi Narasimham. He has written a book called Prahasana Manjari. Prahasana is all these funny anecdotes. So anyway, leave that. So Vishnu and Shiva mean that is the all-encompassing, all say pervading nature, all powerful nature. So there are, that is one thing, that cosmic power, that cosmic thing which is manifest in so many things which we see. And what are these things which we see in the cosmic power? That cosmic power's manifestations we see in the sun, we see in the wind, we see in the rain, we see in water, we see in fire, everything. All these natural things, and these were called the gods during this Vedic times. And then what is our body? Our body, microcosm again, is again derived from that only. It is a result of those things only. Whatever 5 elements which we see outside, the body is consisting those 5 elements only. The microcosm and the macrocosm are one and the same. So whatever a man has to do should be in tune with that divine order, should be in tune with that divine scheme or that macrocosm. So that Virat Purusha or that Purusha as we see, in fact in this context I wanted to tell about Purusha Sukta. You know what is the Purusha Sukta? You know what is this Purusha Sukta? Purusha Sukta, in fact, most of the people they recite during our daily puja also. So in that Purusha Sukta, why I am mentioning is, Purusha Sukta tells about the first ever yajna, right from the time of origin of the universe, let us say. We know that Brahma is there, and Brahman, there is a manifestation called Maya in Brahman. And that because of that Maya, from that Maya which is Chaitanyam, that consciousness which is associated with that Maya itself is called Ishvara. So let us say that cosmic power. That cosmic power is visualized as a Rishi, as a Purusha, as a person. In Purusha is a person. The whole cosmos is visualized as a person in this Sukta, and then that cosmos is mentioned here. So that itself, that Purusha, he is the Havis in this Yajna. The subject of Purusha Sukta is a sort of Yajna, that is the first ever Yajna, say in human, not only in human, in the entire human, there is a cosmic history, let us say. In the whole cosmic history, the first ever Yajna is this Purusha Sukta, the Yajna mentioned in Purusha Sukta, where this Purusha himself, that is that cosmic power itself, that itself is the Havis. We see in this mantra, Yat Purushena Havisha Deva Yajnamatanvata. Purusha himself, he became the Havis. Vasanto Asyasi Rajyam Grishma Idma Sharadhavihi. All these things, all these manifestations of like this Rutus, this Vasanta Rutu, Grishma Rutu, all these things, they are all manifestations from that only. So like that, this thing describes, this Purusha Sukta describes how all these first principles or the laws of nature, Tani Dharmani Prathamanyasam, there is a line from in that, Tani Dharmani Prathamani, means all the first principles or the essential laws of nature, they all evolved from that Yajna, they say. So that means, Yajna here means, there is some sort of thinking process which has gone into this. Yajna, it does not mean that they all sat and then they put some fire and whatnot. Here, this Sayanacharya, who has given a commentary to this Purusha Sukta, he writes, Havisha Manasam Yajnam Atanvanta. So everywhere he says Manasam Yajnam. It is basically at a conceptual level. This Yajna is totally at a conceptual level, not a very, very physical Yajna, where they Abadhanan Purusham Pashum, they did not bind that Purusha. So he was the Yajna Pashu, that means it is all a conception. That is, from that cosmic force, how various rules of nature, how that laws of nature have evolved. Laws of nature means the sun, he is in a particular say position. All around the sun, all these planets are moving. Then again, sun himself is a small star. And then like this small star, there are several other millions and millions of stars in the galaxy. So like that, there is a cosmic order. All these laws of nature have evolved from that thing only. So that is the meaning of this Purusha Sukta. We say the Vedic Rishi might not be knowing all these galaxies and whatnot, but in his own way he visualized certain cosmic order. And then he said, whatever a man has to do should be in consonance with that divine, say, scheme, with that divine order. So that is what is called Yajna. So that is why this Purusha Sukta, this Purusha himself, he is called the Yajna Pashu. He is the person who has been sacrificed there. And sacrifice means there is no physical sacrifice. Manasam Yajnam. This commentator Sayanacharya, he is repeatedly mentioning that it is all a bhavana, it is a conceptual thing. So this is, in fact, this Purusha Sukta, somebody can go into greater detail. If you are interested, you have to go and then see that Sayanacharya's commentary on that, and maybe go into greater detail about what it says. So this yajna is something to do with, say, the universal force, a sort of cosmic energy which is manifesting in different forms like sun, moon, rain, etc., etc. And it is also in us, because whatever is there outside is in us. Whatever is there outside is called adhibhutam. Adhibhutam, we know these three words: adhibhutam, adhyatmam, and adhidaivam. We know these words. That is why we say Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. There are three types of energies. That is, one is in us, adhyatmam, that is within us; adhibhutam, which is outside us; adhidaivam, which we attribute to the divine, that is called the adhidaivam. So these three levels are there. And all said and done, they say all the three are one and the same. All the three are the same manifestation of the same Brahma consciousness, or that cosmic energy. The same Brahma consciousness, that Maya, Shakti, or energy, whatever we say, that cosmic energy, all these things are manifestation. So in that sense, this word has to be taken, this yajna. In fact, the old meaning of yajna is that, so when that Vedic Rishi, he visualizes some mantras, he conceived some mantras. So when he says, so yajna, so and so, swaha, Indraya swaha, that means his physical energy. Indra represents the hand, or the physical energy. So the physical energy is for society. Somaya swaha, whatever he thinks, his mind has to be, say, for the society, for this cosmos, let us say, not only for the near society around us, but for the cosmos. So this microcosm has to be in tune with that macrocosm. So that is the basic principle. The microcosm, or the individual, or a vyashti. In fact, Swami Tattvavidananda calls it vyashti and samashti. So this vyashti has to merge with that samashti. Vyashti should not demand too many things from that samashti. Vyashti is there, that individual, and the cosmos is there. The individual is part and parcel. There is an organic relationship between this individual and the cosmos. So he should be in tune with that organic relationship. He should not change or alter or destroy that organic relationship. So that is, and you should not demand too many things. When you are demanding too many things from us, that is a kamya karma. When you are asking for this, that, etc., you are asking more than your due from that samashti. You are asking for more than your due from the samashti. You have to take something from the samashti, there is no doubt, because your body has to maintain, your survival is very much there. But then you should not demand too much. So that is the spirit of yajna. That is the meaning of yajna according to a Vedic Rishi. So that is the meaning which is given. Unfortunately, we have forgotten that meaning now, and only the ritual is remaining. Because we have forgotten the original meaning of yajna, only the ritualistic meaning is remaining. So that is why we are only thinking that yajna, this is all meaningless, it is a meaningless ritual. But then if you go into the Upanishads, Chandogya Upanishad gives a very good detailed description of yajna. Then Brihadaranyaka, Chandogya Upanishad, about different types of yajna it tells. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, it tells about what are the devas, how many devas are there, what is the concept of deva, all those things we need not go into, but I am just referring to that so that you can make, it will help you in further reading. So let us see this shloka. Yajnarthat karmanaha anyatra lokaha ayam karma bandhanaha. Ayam lokaha, this person, karma bandhanaha, he is bound by karma. Anyatra, in other than this, other than what? Other than yajnarthat karma. If he does karma for yajna, for the sake of yajna, for the sake of cosmos, or in consonance with this cosmic order, in consonance with the divine scheme, whatever karma you do in accordance with this divine scheme, the karma is not binding. That is the meaning of it. But then anyatra, in other places, he becomes a karma bandhana. If you are not in accordance with this karma, in accordance with this cosmos, if you are asking for more, if you are asking for this, that, and if you want to acquire wealth, and if you want to do this, that, and all that, then this karma becomes binding. Either you will go to heaven, or you will go to hell, you will go to, say, all these things. So this karma will become binding. Karma is binding. So okay, somebody can say, okay, punya karma, let us get more and more punya karma. Then punya karma also is binding. In fact, punya karma is compared to golden chains. And Papa Karma is compared to some iron chains. A chain is a chain, whether you are a prisoner with golden chains or whether you are a prisoner with iron chains, it does not matter. In fact, I was referring to Swami Tattvavidananda. He gives an example of a golden sword. Suppose an ordinary man commits a crime which is punishable with, say, death sentence, let us say. So that ordinary man his head is chopped off by an ordinary steel sword or an iron sword. But if a person from a kingly family, he commits the same crime, so he is also punishable with death. So his head is chopped off with a golden sword. So it does not matter whether the head is chopped off with a golden sword or whether with a steel sword or an iron sword. So anyway, this karma bandha is like that. It can be bondage with Rambha, Urvashi and all those damsels, or it may be bondage in hell, something else, but it is a bondage. It is not a stage of liberation. So that is the meaning here. Lokaha ayam karma bandhanaha yajñathat karmanaha anyatra. In karmas other than this karma relating to yajna, a person is bound. Then tadartham means for the sake of yajna. Tadartham means for the sake of that yajna. He Kaunteya, O Kaunteya, Mukta Sangaha Karma Samachara. Mukta Sangaha means without having interest in the say fruit of that action, without craving for the fruit of that action. Mukta Sangaha Samachara, you do your duty in accordance with that cosmic order. So that is the original meaning of say the word yajna, which Lord Krishna is giving here. Shankaracharya is giving here. Arjuna probably did not require any explanation, whereas we require explanation because we are cut off by so many centuries, and the original yajna which was originally conceived by the Vedic rishis, that is forgotten, and now we are only seeing a ritual. Unless we see Brihadaranyaka and unless we see Chandogya and unless we see Shankara Bhashyam, we will not know what is the original meaning of this yajna. So anyway, so this shloka is simple. Yajñarthat karmanaha anyatra lokaha ayam karma bandhanaha tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangaha samachara. These words are simple. Let us read this bhashyam. Yajñarthat iti yajño vai vishnuhu iti shrutehe yajñah ishvaraha tadartham yat kriyate tad yajñartham karma tasmat karmanaha anyatra anyena karmana lokaha ayam adhikrutaha karmakrut karma bandhanaha karma bandhanam yasya soyam karma bandhanaha lokaha. I think we can stop here because the line is still going on. Okay, yajño vai vishnuhu iti shrutehe. Because there is a shruti, I told about this yajño vai vishnuhu. It is from the Taittiriya Shruti. It is Taittiriya Shruti. Yajño vai. Vai means indeed. Yajna indeed is Vishnu. That is, Vishnu is something which is all pervading. The meaning of yajna is Vishnu. That is something which is that all pervasive, that cosmic power. Yajño vai Vishnu iti shrutehe yajñah ishvaraha. Yajna is that all ruling, that omnipotent. Let us use that word. Ishvaraha is that all powerful or omnipotent. Ishvaraha. Tadartham yat kriyate tad yajñartham karma. Tadartham. That is, tadartham means for the sake of that yajna, yat kurute, yat kriyate, whatever is done for that, that is yajñartham karma. That is called yajñartham karma. Then tasmat karmanaha anyatra. That is in places other than that. Tasmat karmanaha anyatra means in actions other than that. In any type of karma which is other than the karma done for yajna. Then anyena karmana, that is in any other different karma. What type of karma is that? It should be kamya karma. When you are in consonance with nature, when you are in consonance with this microcosm, you are not asking for anything more than what is due to you. But anyena karmana, when you are greedy, when you want this, that, when you want to acquire, ma grudha kasyas vidhanam, like what is this Ishavasya says. So when you are in that position, when you are asking for more and more from outside, then you become bound to that karma bandhana. Anyena karmana lokaha ayam, lokoyam. He is giving the meaning. Lokaha means not the world, as I said. What is that? Adhikrutaha karma krut. Adhikrutaha means one who is supposed to do a thing. He is adhikrutaha. One who is expected to do, one he is ordered to do. Something, a work or a job is enjoined on him. So that man is an adhikari. In other words, he can also be called adhikrutaha. Adhikari is also called adhikruta. One on whom that responsibility is there. So there is some responsibility on his head. So he is adhikruta. Adhikrutaha karma krut. That is the person who does karma. So he is, what happens to him? Karma bandhanaha. Karma bandhanaha is, it is in a bahurihi samasa. Karma bandhana means karma bandhanam yasya saha. The karma for whom karma is binding. So such sort of phrase is called, such a sort of combination or a compound is called bahurihi samasa. You must be knowing bahurihi samasa. Somebody says pitambaraha. Pitam ambaram yasya saha pitambaraha. One who is wearing that sort of, that particular colored cloth. He is a pitambara. So like that, karma bandhanaha means karma bandhanam yasya saha. That is one for whom this karma becomes a bondage. That is the meaning of karma bandhana. It's a bahurihi samasa. Saha ayam karma bandhanaha lokaha. So that individual becomes somebody who gets bound to this karma. Natu yajñarthat. Natu yajñarthat. Ataha. Tadartham yajñartham. Tadartham yajñartham. Karma kaunteya. Karma kaunteya. Mukta sangaha. Karma phala sanga varjitassan samachara nirvartaya. So he says natu yajñarthat. So it becomes binding when you are not in accordance with this cosmic order, but when you are in accordance with this cosmic order, when you are in accordance with, in consonance with this cosmic principle, yajñarthat. Yajñarthat, ataha tadartham means yajñartham. For the sake of that yajna, he karma, he kaunteya, mukta sangaha. He is explaining, sangha we know, sangha is attachment. Mukta sangha means one who is free from that sangha, one who is free from attachment. What is that attachment? Karma phala sangha varjitaha. Karma phala sangha varjitaha. Karma phalam is the fruit of action. Sangha varjitaha. So he is detached from that fruit of action. He is detached from that fruit of action. Karma phala sangha varjitaha san. By being that, by being so, samachara nirvartaya. You perform your action by being somebody who is detached from that karma phala. So that is the meaning of this line. So here, any other point? Yajñarthat karmana anyatra. So this yajna, while talking about yajna, we can also refer to that Panchamaha yajnas, the 5 yajnas which I was telling in some earlier classes. They also come under this yajna. Yajna, where we are talking about Bhuta yajna, Deva yajna, Pitru yajna, those yajnas which are compulsory for a person, for all persons, say not only for a Brahmin. These are compulsory for all persons in society. Pancha yajnas. That is Atithi yajna. Atithi is a guest. That is feeding the poor, giving some food to the poor people. Deva yajna, by worshipping gods. The worshipping gods, again, it can be in different sense. Then Bhuta yajna, giving food to animals, giving food to all, say it can be some pet animals, it can be some other animals. Generally, people give food to birds and all that. So that is Bhuta yajna. So like that, Pitru yajna, in the name of Pitrus, you have to feed people. So like that. So these are yajnas, 5 maha, and Brahma yajna is another thing. Brahma yajna is what? Brahma yajna is what we are doing now. That is spreading knowledge. Brahma is knowledge only. That is Swadhyaya and Pravachana, that is Brahma yajna. Swadhyaya means that is studying what is prescribed to you. If you are a Yajurvedi, you are supposed to read Yajurveda. If you are a Rigvedi, you are supposed to read Rigveda. And then you have to study the Upanishads which are there in that. And then you have to tell about that, you have to follow that dharma, and you have to tell about that dharma, and then you have to preserve that dharma. So that is your duty. So that is Brahma yajna. So these are yajnas. So in the context of that, So we can see. So by doing this, it is not the Ishvara who is going to benefit from that. It is by doing this yajnarthat karma, it is not Ishvara who is going to benefit. It is you who are going to benefit. Ishvara is not going to get anything out of it. We are actually benefiting by following this sort of balance which is there in this universe. So that is the meaning here. So let us see the next thing. Itascha adhikrutena karma kartavyam. So he is giving one more reason. Itascha, for this reason also. Itaha cha. Itaha plus cha, itascha, for this reason also, adhikrutena, by an adhikari, by a person on whom a duty is enjoined. So, itascha adhikrutena karma kartavyam. A person has to do, a person on whom a duty is enjoined, he is supposed to do this karma for this reason also. What is that reason? Let us read this shloka. Saha yajna praja sruštva purovacha prajapatihi अनेन प्रसविष्यध्वम् येषवोस्त्विष्टकामधुक्. Okay, saha yajnaha prajaha sruštva purovacha prajapatihi. Prajapati is the subject here. Prajapati means the creator. Prajapati. Saha yajnaha prajaha sruštva. Prajaha, people. How did he create people? Saha yajnaha created. Saha yajnaha means along with yajna they created people. That means there is a sort of, as I said, a sort of organic relationship which cannot be broken. So prajas, the people are created in association with yajna. The yajna and prajas, they are simultaneously created. So let us say they are something like twins. They are created together. They are created say in a sort of with some sort of an umbilical relationship, let us say. Saha yajnaha. Along with this yajna, prajas, saha yajna is an adjective for prajas. Praja, people, they are created as saha yajnas. Along with this yajna, they have been created. Then sruštva, having created, uvacha prajapatihi. Prajapati, it seems he said like this. It is not as though somebody sitting there in the heaven he said. It is a sort of bhavana only. That means he laid down this sort of rule. It is a bhavana. Anena prasavishyadhvam yesha vaha astu ishtakamadhuk. Anena prasavishyadhvam. By this, both of you prosper. Prasavishyadhvam. Both of you prosper. You not only both of you, the people, prajaha, you prosper like this. Prasavishyadhvam means you prasava, prasava is giving birth to a baby. Here, prospering. By this means you prosper. Yesha vaha astu ishtakamadhuk. This yajna will be a thing which will give you eternal results. What all you want, it will give. So, ishtakamadhuk, whatever you want. Ishtakama is whatever you want. Ishtam is what? Whatever is desired is ishtam. Ishtakama is desire. Ishtakamadhuk, whatever desire you want, this will give. So, this is the general meaning. This Prajapati, he created people along with this yajna. So this yajna is an inseparable thing from people. Yajna is something which is in this cosmic order is inseparable, or rather people or whatever Srishti is there, it is inseparable from this cosmic order. And then by following this cosmic order, anena prasavishyadhvam, we have to prosper. Prasavishyadhvam, yesha vaha. Yesha means this. This what? Yajna. Yesha vaha, to you, astu ishtakamadhuk. This will become, let this become ishtakamadhuk. That sort of kamadhenu, let us say, that sort of kamadhenu which is going to give you what all you want, what all you desire. We know that Puranas there is what is called a kamadhenu. Kamadhenu is what? It is a cow. In this shloka also, in fact, there is an image of a cow. Ishtakamadhuk. Ishtakamadhuk is kamadhenu only. So this yajna is something like a kamadhenu to you. The image of a cow. Cow is supposed to be a very sacred animal because all these rishis, they depended on that only. All these rishis, they stayed in forest and then they wanted milk for the, for the yajna. They wanted curd for the yajna. They wanted ghee, that rarefied butter as we call it. That they wanted for yajna. They wanted all those things, and then cow dung actually it is dried up and then it is used as a sort of fuel. Cow dung is even in villages that is used as a fuel. It is used as a sort of manure for plants. So likewise, so cow is something which gives lot many things to a human being. So that is how it was treated with a lot of respect and sometimes worshipped. So that is the picture. So here in this shloka we are seeing that image of a cow. This yajna will be a sort of kamadhenu for you. Whatever you want. Kamadhenu means kama is desire. Dhenu means that which gives what all you want. Kamadhenu. So this ishta kama dhuk, that is going to give you what all you desire. So this is the overall meaning of this shloka. If you see the words, saha yajnaha prajaha sruštva. Saha yajnaha, as I said, is an adjective for this prajaha. Prajaha means people. Saha yajnaha means along in association with this yajna, they have been created. Saha yajnaha sruštva pura uvacha prajapatihi. Pura uvacha has to be broken as pura plus uvacha purovacha prajapatihi. Anena prasavishyadvam. You prosper. May you prosper. May all of you prosper. Yesha means this. This means yajna. Vaha to you. Ishta kamadhuk astu. Let this become a kamadhenu for you. Ishta kamadhuk, whatever you desire, this is going to give. So this is duk. Actually, ishta kamadhuk. The root is duh. Duh means prapurane. Duh dhatu means prapurane. That is fulfills. It will fulfill all your needs. That is going to fulfill all your needs. So that is the meaning here. Let us see the Shankara Bhashyam of Shankaracharya. Saha yajnaha yajna sahitaha prajaha trayo varnaha taha sruštva utpadya pura purvam sargadau uvacha Uktavan Prajapatihi Prajanam Srashta Anena Yajnena Prasavishyadvam Prasavaha Vruddhihi Utpattihi Tam Kurudhvam. Okay. So Saha Yajnaha Yajna Sahitaha. Saha means along with. Saha yajna means yajna sahitaha. Along with this yajna, prajaha trayo varnaha. Prajaha, he is explaining, praja means trayo varnaha. All these three varnas. Three varnas is Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaisya. All these varnaha. Srushnataha, those varnaha. Sruštva utpadya, having created, Sruštva is created only, having created all these varnas. Utpadya pura purvam, that is at the time of creation. At the time of creation, this Prajapati having created these varna. So when was that? Sargadau. At the time of this, at the beginning of this sarga. What is this sarga? So according to our Puranas, there not only Purana, according to Vedanta also accepts some of these ideas of Puranas, because these explain certain things. Sarga means creation, and like this sarga, with creation, when there is a creation, there is a sustenance and also dissolution. Srushti, Sthiti, Laya, all these three things are there. This creation, sustenance and dissolution. So after dissolution, then what? Then another again creation has to come. So that is another sarga. Sarga actually means creation. Srushti and sarga are one and the same. Srushti is producing something or creating something. Sarga means the same thing. So sargadau means when this particular sarga has commenced. So we are in particular sarga, then after several millions and millions of years, another sarga, this entire thing goes into a laya, and then another sarga will come. So that is the Puranic belief, which is also taken into consideration in Vedanta, because it explains certain things. Sargadau uvacha uktavan prajapatihi. Prajapatihi means that creator. He said like this, Prajanam Srashta, he is the creator. Anena yajnena prasavishyadvam. By this yajna, by this sort of this cosmic principle, by following this cosmic principle, you prasavishyadvam. Prasavaha means what? Prasavaha means vruddhihi. Prasava means vruddhi. Vruddhi means increase, prosperity. Vruddhi is prosperity, increase. That utpatti again means production. Tam kurudvam, you please do that. So you prosper by following this particular order. So that is what was the rule laid down by Prajapati at the time of creation. So this we have to take in a figurative way, not as though we say that some Prajapati came and then he said, okay, you follow this order, not like that. He created certain natural laws, or rather some laws of nature, and then by those laws of nature, the man has to live in consonance with those laws of nature. So that is the meaning here. Kurudvam, yesha yajnaha, vaha yushmakam, astu bhavishyatu, bhavatu, ishtakama ishtan abhipretan kaman, phala visheshan, dogdhi iti ishtakama So he is explaining that word ishtakama. Ishta is, what is it? Abhipreta. 5 minutes? Okay. Ishta means abhipreta, whatever is desired. Whatever is desired or whatever you choose. You have got some choice for certain thing. You have a choice for this, you don't have a choice for that. Whatever you choose, that is what is called ishtam. We say, I like this. That is ishtam. So ishta kama. Kama is desire. Duk. Duk again, as I said, it comes from that duh, that is prapurane dhatu. The duh means actually the cow which gives milk. That milking of a cow is called godohanam. Milking of a cow is called duh, from the same root duh. Dogdhi means he milks the cow. Dogdhi, he is milking a cow. So like milking a cow, this yajna is giving you what all you want. This yesha yajnaha, this yajnaha, vaha means yushmakam, to you all. Astu bhavatu means let it become. Ishtakama. He is explaining the word ishtan, that is abhipretan, what all you require, what all you desire, what all you want, all those kamas. Let this give you, just like a cow gives you milk, let it give what all you want. Let this yajna become a sort of kama dhenu for you. So that is the meaning here. Any other point here? Yajnena swachidan sita dharmena. Okay. Next line. Devan iti. Devan, let us read this shloka. Devan bhavayatanena. Te deva bhavayantu vaha. Parasparam bhavayantaha. Shreyah paramavapsyatha. So he is again continuing the same thing, because as I said, this yajna is more elaborately mentioned in chapter 4. In fact, I have brought some note on chapter 4 also from actually a book which is actually I only wrote, Bhagavad Gita, what Gita tells us. So from this I have made a small summary of the meaning of yajna as we see in 4th chapter. So in fact the 4th chapter tells about so many yajnas. One is about Deva yajna. So some say for various forces of nature, that is, we have to live in accordance with them. We are not supposed to exploit nature too much. Even from an ecological sense, it makes some meaning. Then because some people they do Atma yajna. Atma yajna means, that is, leaving this tvam and then realizing that tvam is nothing but the tat. So this is the meaning given by Madhusudana Saraswati in that say Brahma yajna. That Brahma yajna means this realizing that this tvam is nothing but tat. So that is that Brahma yajna. Then Indriya Nigraha, that is controlling senses. That itself, that is another Indriya Nigraha. It is also used in the sense of a yajna. So all these things, Nigraham means restraint of these Indriyas. That is another yajna. Like this, then Dravya yajna, Tirtheshu Dravya Viniyogam, Dravya yajna. When you are giving money to people, needy people, that again is a sort of Dravya yajna. Then Tapo yajna is another type of yajna. Tapo yajna means, that is basically meditation. Meditation, it can be any type, two types of meditation. Meditating on some mantra or something like that. Meditation on some God form. So that is manana, that is also tapas. So this type of yajna is another yajna. Then Patanjali Yoga Yajna, that Yama, Niyama, Asana, all those self-restraint, various means of self-restraint, they are also mentioned there. So then again Jnana Yajna. Jnana Yajna, as I said, that is studying the Swadhyaya. Swadhyaya is whatever branch of Veda is prescribed for you, you are supposed to read that branch of Veda, you should read the Upanishads, and then you should also prescribe, preserve that Dharma. So these are all various yajnas. Several other yajnas have been told in 4th chapter, which we will see later. But here in this shloka, Devan bhavayata anena te deva bhavayantuvaha. So here again, this meaning of deva, we have to see what is the meaning of deva. Deva, again, as I said, there are two types of devas which we see in our books. The Vedic gods means this Indra, Varuna. Indra is, say Indra, for all practical purposes, he is supposed to be all powerful god in the Veda. Then Indra, let us say, is also a sort of Prajapati. He is equated with Prajapati. Then Soma. Soma is this moon. Then Surya is another physical thing which we see. Then Varuna, the rain god. So that is another thing which we see. Wind god, that is another thing. Prithvi, that is the earth. Earth is compared to a female, it is used in a feminine gender. All other things are in masculine gender, only earth is in feminine gender. Because earth is something like a mother. Because mother is in feminine gender. So that is why earth is something like a mother. So it is Prithvi. It is in that word Prithvi is in feminine gender. So like that, all these things are the devatas according to the Vedic rishis. So but then subsequent times, when we come to Puranic times, then we have got some other say gods, like something like Durga, something like Ambika, something like Parvati, something like Ganesha. All these things, they have come subsequently. The original gods of Vedic time is Varuna, Agni, Vayu, and then Prithvi. These are the gods and goddesses. So like that. So here, Devan Bhavayata. So this again is a direction. Bhavayata is a direction. Bhavayata means you nourish. You nourish these, these forces of nature. You nourish these devas. This cosmic energy which is manifest in different forms, you have to nourish. That is, you have to live in accordance with that. Devan bhavayata anena, by that, te deva bhavayantuvaha. Those forces, those gods, they will nourish you in turn. Te devaha bhavayantu vaha. Vaha means you. They will nourish all of you. They will nourish you. Parasparam bhavayantaha, by such mutual nourishment. You are functioning in accordance with that, only then the nature will function it will fulfill your need. If you disturb nature, the nature will it will harm you. Parasparam bhavayantaha shreyah param avapsyata. Param shreyah avapsyata. So you attain that supreme shreyas. That supreme shreyas is what? We are not talking about that Atma Jnana. Shreyas is whatever is good for you, whatever is good for both of you, you will attain. So I think we can see in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.